A man steps into a windowless room. The air is thick. It is heavy with the sharp, sweet smoke of burning frankincense. A designated, holy person who stands in the gap. We think of them as the people doing the heavy spiritual lifting on behalf of the rest. It is a priestly inauguration. For centuries, the Levitical system operated on a fragile, terrifying loop. A priest steps in. A sacrifice is made. The priest steps out. The veil remains intact. The gap is managed, but it is never permanently closed. The blood of goats and bulls can only cover the fracture. It cannot heal it. Then comes the ultimate Kohen. Jesus does not belong to the tribe of Levi. He has no legal right to the temple floor. He wears no blue robe. He carries no golden basin. The wood he carries is splintered. The iron in his wrists is rusted. The smell in the air is not sweet incense, but sweat, dirt, and public execution. He steps into the ultimate gap. He stands between absolute holiness and total human rebellion. He does not bring a substitute. He becomes the substitute. He does not wear names engraved on heavy stones. He bears them in his own fractured flesh. Under the old system, the priest's job was to karab, to draw near. But he drew near in terror. He drew near with golden bells to signal he was still breathing on the stone floor. Jesus draws near in perfect obedience of us, the rest of us who are simply too busy, too secular, or too flawed to get that close to the divine. Hebrews chapter 4 says, "We have a high priest who is not unable to sympathize with our weaknesses. He has felt the dust of this world on his skin. He has felt the betrayal of friends in his chest. He knows the desperate, suffocating weight of human grief." The cross is not a tragic end to a prophetic ministry. It is the moment the true Kohen enters the true Holy of Holies. Hebrews chapter 10 declares that, by a single offering, he has perfected for all time those who are being sanctified. The endless loop is broken. The daily slaughter in the temple is rendered completely obsolete. And when his lungs finally collapse, the architecture of the ancient world violently fractures. Matthew chapter 27 records the shockwave. The veil of the temple tears in two. From top to bottom, the massive, heavy fabric that protected the people from the fire of God's presence is ripped wide open. The sanctuary is breached. The barrier is destroyed. The exclusive access is officially revoked. The professional priesthood of Aaron is entirely dismantled. The middlemen are out of a job. The terrifying gap between heaven and earth is finally, permanently closed. But the tearing of that thick fabric does not mean the priesthood is over. We treat the priesthood as a convenient division of labor. They handle God. We handle the real world. It means the terrifying offer God made at a smoking mountain is back on the table. A fisherman sits in a cramped, poorly lit room somewhere in the Roman Empire. His hands are thick and calloused from decades of hauling heavy, wet nets across the Sea of Galilee. He smells of salt and old leather. The oil lamp flickers against the rough walls as he speaks. He is not a Pharisee, trained in the elite rabbinic schools of Jerusalem. He is an uneducated laborer who watched his closest friend get executed on a splintered Roman cross. He is dictating a letter to people who are scattered, marginalized, and terrified. The first letter of Peter is addressed to the exiles dispersed across Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, and Bithynia. These are ordinary, exhausted people trying to survive under the crushing, violent weight of an imperial machine. They have no cathedrals. They have no political power. They have no professional religious elite to protect them. And Peter reaches deep into the ancient Hebrew text to tell them exactly who they are. He bypasses the entire Levitical system. He bypasses the massive stone temple in Jerusalem. He reaches all the way back to a smoking mountain in the desert. And he pulls forward the exact terrifying offer the Israelites rejected. And, for thousands of years, religious systems have perfectly accommodated and even encouraged that assumption. But if you look closer, 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9, "But you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a royal priesthood, The Greek word he uses is hieratiuma, carrying the exact functional weight of the Hebrew Kohen. And he is not applying this title to the local bishops or the church planters. He is applying it to the slaves, the wives, the tradesmen, and the impoverished outcasts, reading the letter in secret house gatherings. The invitation God held out at Mount Sinai is officially reinstated. The priesthood is not a specialized ecclesiastical career. It is a restored human identity. Because the massive veil is torn in half, every single person who belongs to Jesus now possesses the ultimate clearance to step into the innermost sanctuary. The writer of Hebrews says, "We can now approach the throne of grace with boldness." We do not need a human mediator to walk into the dark cloud for us, because the ultimate mediator already tore the curtain down. We are called to Karab, to draw near. We are called to carry the names of our broken neighbors, our fractured families, and our suffering cities over our hearts. We are called to stand in the agonizing, beautiful gap between a bleeding world and a holy God. Peter says we are the new temple, built of living stones, designed to house the very presence. If you look at the ancient Hebrew word hiding just beneath our English translations, if you look at the invitation God actually offered, of the divine in the middle of our ordinary neighborhoods, the original design of Eden is planted right back in the dirt of human history. The veil is gone. The access is totally open, and the sacred title is universally given to every believer. But 2,000 years later, we are making the exact same catastrophic mistake the Israelites made in the hot sand. Look at the modern religious landscape. Look at how we actually live our lives. We are still terrified of the mountain. We are exactly like the runaway slaves backing away in the hot sand. We do not say it out loud, but our daily rhythms scream the exact same demand. You speak to God. Do not make us do it. We have built an entire culture around the professional middleman. You walk into a building on Sunday morning. You sit in a padded chair. The room goes dark. The music swells from a glowing stage. A professional stands behind a microphone to deliver the revelation they received in the dark cloud. And you watch. You consume. You wait for the seminary graduate to explain the ancient text. You wait for the worship leader to manufacture the divine presence. You wait for the ordained minister to visit the sick, bless the broken, and stand in the gap. You pay someone else to carry the heavy stones, to a band of runaway slaves on a smoking mountain. You start to see something the professional religious reading completely misses. This is not a healthy division of labor. This is a tragic abdication of your calling. The torn veil means there is no VIP section in the kingdom of God. But we keep trying to stitch the heavy fabric back together. We keep trying to construct boundaries because distance feels much safer than intimacy. Intimacy requires absolute vulnerability. Intimacy requires the total exposure of your own soul before the consuming fire of God's presence. It is easier to let a professional do it. But you cannot outsource your own identity. God is not looking for an audience. He is looking for a Kohen. He is handing you the sacred garments. He is asking you to step into the terrifying, beautiful gap for the people in your own life. Because Peter's letter leaves you absolutely nowhere to hide. You are the royal priesthood. Your scratched kitchen table is an altar. The fluorescent-lit cubicle where you type emails is the inner sanctum. The cold steering wheel of your car during morning traffic is the place of intercession. When your child wakes up terrified in the middle of the dark night, you are the priest who stands between their fear and the peace of heaven. When your coworker is drowning in quiet, unseen despair, you are the one called to Karab, to draw near. This was never meant to be a title for a select few. A priest is not a spiritual middleman hired to do your praying for you. When you sit with a grieving friend in a sterile hospital room, smelling the harsh bleach on the floor, you are doing the exact work of Aaron. You are bridging the gap. You are carrying their brokenness to the divine presence. And you are carrying the divine presence straight into their brokenness. The priesthood is not a religious career. It is a Tuesday morning reality. It is the grueling, unseen work of holding the fracture of the world together with your own prayers. And it demands a completely different way of living. The high priest steps backward through the heavy curtain. He carries the blood. He carries the stones. The golden bells chime against the terrifying silence. A frail human sound, echoing in the very center of the universe. It was always meant to be this way, but it was meant for everyone. A man in a garden was told to guard the soil, and the original blueprint of a priestly humanity was drawn. A terrified nation was invited up a smoking mountain, and they backed away into the hot sand. A worshiper brought an offering to the boundary line, and a mediator drew near to close the terrifying gap. A Levite wore 12 heavy stones over his beating heart. It is the original, unrevoked job description for every human being on earth. To feel the weight of what that actually means, and carried a fractured family into the dark. A savior walked up a hill wearing no sacred robes, and became both the high priest and the bleeding sacrifice. A massive veil tore violently from top to bottom, and the exclusive access to the divine fire was revoked forever. A fisherman wrote a letter to scattered exiles in the empire, and handed the sacred title back to the ordinary people. One thread, one story. But maybe the part that stays with me most is the stones. 12 heavy, polished gemstones resting directly against Aaron's chest. God did not ask him to carry flawless theology into the dark room. He did not ask him to carry a perfect moral record. He asked him to carry names, to bear the unbearable weight of broken, rebellious, beautiful human beings into the presence of the fire. If you are in a season where you feel entirely unqualified to do spiritual work, if you think the sacred title belongs only to the seminary graduates, to the people with the microphones, to the figures who never seem to stumble in the dark, you are forgetting what a Kohen actually is. It is not an elite status. It is a posture. You do not need a clerical collar to Karab. You cannot start your search in this dark, smoke-filled room in Jerusalem. You have to go back long before the bells. You do not need absolute certainty to draw near. You just need to be willing to stand in the space between the people you love and the God who loves them. The curtain is gone. The access is open. And may the God who tore the thick fabric in half give you the courage to stop outsourcing your calling, to step fully into the gap in your own neighborhood, and to carry the names of those around you with the fierce love of a royal priest. Before the golden altar, before the heavy embroidered curtain was ever woven, you have to go back to a place where there was, and the distinct, metallic scent of fresh blood. He is entirely alone. He is completely barefoot. The stone floor is cold against his skin. No temple architecture at all. Just dirt, trees, and the very first breath of a brand new world. In the opening pages of Genesis, humanity is placed in a garden. But this is not a casual park. The ancient Hebrew writers describe this original space with the exact same architectural markers they will later use to describe the Holy of Holies. The text speaks of rivers flowing out toward the east. It mentions pure gold and dark, heavy onyx stone buried beneath the damp topsoil. It describes a space where the divine presence walks openly in the cool evening breeze, unhindered by walls or veils. And then comes the assignment. Genesis chapter 2, verse 15, says that God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and keep it. In English, that sounds like an agricultural contract. It sounds like an instruction to pull weeds, prune the fig trees, and manage the irrigation. But the Hebrew words underneath work and keep are avad and shamar. Avad can mean to work, but its deeper resonance is to minister or to serve. Shamar can mean to keep, but its primary function is to guard, to watch over, to protect something sacred from corruption. If you trace these two specific verbs together through the rest of the Torah, you do not find them being used out in the farming fields, a sharp reminder of his mortality in a space designed for eternity. With every deliberate step he takes in the dark, you find them in the most restricted zones of the biblical world. When you scroll forward to the book of Numbers, chapter 3, you find a detailed manual for the Levitical priesthood. God tells the tribe of Levi they are to perform the duties for the whole congregation, before the tent of meeting. The Hebrew phrasing used to describe their sacred duty, they are to avad the service and shamar the tabernacle. The writers are making a deliberate, unmistakable connection. Eden is not an agricultural project. It is a cosmic sanctuary. The first human is not just a gardener. He is the first priest. Humanity was not created to be a species of mere consumers, building cities and extracting resources. We were created to minister in the space where heaven and earth overlap, to cultivate the presence of God, to guard the sacredness of the world. That was the baseline design. To be human is to be a priest. But the sanctuary was compromised. The humans were exiled. The gates were sealed by flaming swords. And the world spun into a chaotic blur of broken altars and violent empires. The blueprint of a priestly humanity seemed entirely erased from the earth, until centuries later, when God pulls a disorganized, terrified nation of brickmakers out of Egypt, walks them into the desert, and brings them to the foot of a mountain that is vibrating with thunder. Tiny golden bells sewn into the hem of his blue robe chime. It is a fragile, nervous sound echoing against the crushing silence of the inner sanctum. They stand at the base of Mount Sinai. The ground shakes under their sandaled feet. Black smoke billows like a massive furnace against the desert sky. The air smells of ozone. It smells of burning rock. A trumpet blast echoes across the barren valley. It grows louder. It grows deafening. The people waiting below are not religious elites. They are runaway slaves. They are brickmakers. They carry the dust of Egypt on their skin. They carry the trauma of the whip in their nervous systems. They do not know how to be free. They only know how to survive. Moses climbs the mountain. He disappears into the thick, dark cloud. God speaks. He delivers a message for the people waiting in the dirt. He does not offer them a standard political treaty. He does not give them a conventional military strategy. He offers them the original, shattered blueprint of Eden, Exodus, Noas Prezeche. Verse 6, "You shall be to me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation." A kingdom of priests, every single one of them. The mothers baking unleavened bread, the old men tending sheep, the young boys gathering wood. God looks at a fractured, disorganized mass of traumatized refugees and invites them all to cross the boundary line. He calls them to carry the divine presence. He calls them to minister to the rest of the world, to be the bridge, to stand in the gap. The priesthood is not an exclusive club. It is a national identity. But the people panic. He is carrying the blood of a goat in a golden basin. He is carrying the weight of 12 heavy gemstones strapped over his heart. The thunder is too loud. The lightning is too violent. The proximity to the absolute holiness of God is too terrifying to endure. They look at the smoking mountain. They look at Moses. They physically step backward in the hot sand. Exodus 20 records their catastrophic response. "You speak to us." They beg Moses. "But do not let God speak to us, lest we die." They decline the invitation. They outsource the calling. They choose the safety of distance over the terror of intimacy. They demand a middleman. They want someone else to go into the dark cloud. They want someone else to handle the holy things. So God accommodates their fear. If the entire nation will not step forward, one family will. The tribe of Levi is set apart. Aaron is clothed in the sacred garments. The heavy, embroidered veil is woven to create a safe boundary between the divine presence and the terrified camp. The professional priesthood begins. It is not the original divine design. It is a tragic concession to human fear. The calling of the many is placed onto the shoulders of a few. The nation becomes spectators. The Levites become the professionals. But to understand the profound weight of what the Israelites just walked away from, you have to look at the specific title they handed over. When we read the Book of Exodus in English, the word priest carries centuries of institutional baggage. He is carrying the failures, the fractures, and the desperate hopes of an entire nation. He is the high priest of Israel. We picture cold stone cathedrals, colored stained glass, and rigid ecclesiastical hierarchies. We imagine a title that designates someone as spiritually superior. But the ancient Hebrew text is completely stripped of all that medieval architecture. The word translated as priest throughout the Old Testament is the Hebrew Kohen. It appears over 700 times in the biblical text. And while linguists have debated its exact etymological origins for centuries, its primary functional meaning in the Hebrew mindset is unmistakable. A Kohen is one who ministers, one who officiates on behalf of another. But the physical action that defines the Kohen more than any other is found in a closely related Hebrew root word, karab. Karab means to draw near, to approach. When a worshiper in the ancient world brought an offering to the tabernacle, the text says they were to carab it, bring it close to the boundary, but they could not cross over. The Kohen is the one who takes it the rest of the way. They step into the terrifying, vibrating space of the divine presence, so that the gap between heaven and earth is temporarily closed. They carry the smell of the herd, the dust of the camp, and the blood of the offering directly into the sacred space. If something about this redefinition of priesthood is stirring up questions you've never considered, he has stepped behind the heavy veil. When we hear the word priest, this is the image that naturally fills the mind. You're exactly who this channel is for. Drop a thought in the comments and hit subscribe. Because every week, we go deeper into the text than you knew was possible. So the Kohen draws near. Look at how Moses explains this exact function to a rebellious faction in Numbers chapter 16. A group of men challenge Aaron's priestly authority. And Moses tells them exactly how God defines the role. The Lord will show who is his, and who is holy, and will cause him to come near to him. The defining mark of the Kohen is not a theological degree. It is not a flawless moral record or an administrative title. It is proximity. That ancient function changes everything about how you read the rest of the Bible. A priest is not an ecclesiastical executive. It is a human bridge. The Kohen is not the person who stands above the community in superiority. It is the person who stands between the community and the divine fire, holding them both together. But holding those two opposing realms together is not a metaphor. In the biblical imagination, it requires carrying something incredibly heavy. Aaron stands at the edge of the dusty courtyard. The craftsmen have finished the sacred garments, and now they are being placed onto his aging body. First, the white linen tunic, pulling tight across his shoulders. Then the solid blue robe. Then the ephod, or perhaps you picture a modern equivalent, a man in a clerical collar walking down a hospital hallway, a figure standing behind an ornate wooden pulpit. But the most important piece is strapped across his chest. It is a heavy, square pouch suspended by twisted cords of pure gold, and set into its fabric are 12 massive, polished gemstones. A ruby, a topaz, an emerald, 12 stones for 12 tribes, catching the harsh desert light. And carved deep into the hard surface of each stone is a name. The names are not labels. They are prayers. When Aaron steps past the heavy curtain into the suffocating darkness of the holy place, he does not walk alone. He carries Reuben, the unstable firstborn. He carries Simeon and Levi, men with blood on their hands. He carries Judah, the compromised leader. He carries the mother weeping outside her tent. He carries the elder hoarding manna in the dark. He carries the terrified brickmaker who wishes he was back in Egypt. He carries all the failure, all the rebellion, and all the desperate wandering of a fractured family, literally strapped over his beating heart. Exodus chapter 28 gives the reason. It says, Aaron shall bear the names of the sons of Israel over his heart, to bring them to regular remembrance before the Lord. This is the true weight of the Kohen. It is not the physical weight of gold chains or the brass censer. It is the unbearable weight of human beings in flowing robes. Someone officially ordained, professionally trained, and authorized by an institution to handle the sacred things. Most people assume a priest is a religious specialist. He brings the people in. He holds their names before the fire. He stands in the agonizing gap between a holy God and a deeply unholy nation. Every single year, the high priest makes the walk. Every year, The blood is spilled on the stone floor. Every year, the golden bells chime in the terrifying silence. But this system is devastatingly fragile. The stones are permanent, but the man wearing them is dying. Aaron is a sinner, carrying the names of other sinners. He has to offer blood for his own failures before he can even step into the room to offer it for theirs. The thick veil remains hanging. The gap is bridged for a fleeting moment, but it is never permanently closed. The true Eden is still locked away. That echo of a temporary priest does not stop in the tabernacle, because centuries later, outside the city walls of Jerusalem, a very different kind of priest is about to walk up a very different kind of mountain. The mountain is Golgotha. The priest is Jesus of Nazareth. The writer of Hebrews spends an entire letter making a radical, paradigm-shattering argument. He demands his readers look at the cross. Look at the bleeding man. Look at the execution. This is not a political defeat.